why did I start with this? Must be some reason for it. Can anybody take a guess? There was definitely a reason why I did this. Why I asked this child to chant this. We started.
You are invoking fifth house, mantra upasana.
True. And moreover, at this point when we are having this summit, we are having this under retrograde Mercury, which is notorious for changing the theme. Like you start with something and you end up somewhere. And there could be unnecessary confusions and miscommunications. So I thought I would start with Bala. Guru Garu was saying like, whatever is predestined, even that could sometimes be changed with Vakpalita when Upasana is there. That's very true. So this is a 5-year-old child who is Amsa of Bala. So when she graces this, when we begin this, of course we started this puja for Uchishta Ganapati, who is the tutelary deity for KP astrology, because it was under his inspiration that this whole system was conceived. So that was there. So we thought we would invoke the mother also. Like just here, we invoke the mother first and of course the tutelary deity also. So mother was missing. I thought I'll fill up with the mother here, Devi Bala, and who finished this Bhagavad Gita. The chapter is, has a context also here. Like we say like, Bahuni me vyatithani janmani tabacharjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veda parantapa. Like where we are sitting today, where we stand, where we have evolved. That's a long process. We are not aware of where we started and where we are here, why we are here. God knows that. That's where remedies start. Like you have a thorn in your feet, you have to take it out. Unless you know where you got it in which angle you got it in, it's difficult for you to take it out smoothly. If you take it out roughly, there are going to be some pieces, some sharpness, which are not going to be resolved in your body, which are going to trouble you later. So, the first thing we have to understand in remedies is, whatever is happening today is the culmination of a long evolution process. Right from the beginning when your soul had its origin independently from the divine spec to where we are today. We have passed through many cycles, up and down, and maybe finally we are here as humans. Maybe we had human lives like this before, maybe we'll have lives later like this after, but where we stand, it's a combination of a whole karmic evolution. So I thought that I will make her address, and luckily she knew this particular portion of it, so I thought I'll make her chant. I asked her will she chant, and she was okay, fine with it. I was honestly not sure whether she would do justice to it. I was wondering whether I'll be wasting all of your times if she stumbles or something, staggers or something. Luckily by God's grace, I wouldn't say my daughter said that, maybe God in her helped her to say it in fluency, which has a lot of lessons for all of us. Now I'll come to the main topic here. Before I start my lecture, I would want to, do you have a system here where you can make charts instantaneously?
Yes.
Yeah. 11:35, 16 seconds. Today. What's special about this time? 11:35, 16. Okay, what time Astro Pearl was launched? Did anybody notice that? Sorry? Oh, that's fine, but what time it was launched exactly? Did anybody notice that? We should have. The first lesson for an astrologer, especially in traditions, is that whatever happens around you, when you are in a big meet like this, because it's a congregation of personalities here, many evolved astrologers, so karma is sitting among us today, with all of us, because you are analyzing the planets, you are doing a lot of things with this, so karma would be sitting with us, and this is a major event. As a culmination of a lot of research, Something has been launched. Before I proceed in my lecture, I wanted to see the karmic possibilities of that, whatever we did. Jupiter.
28.
So usually in Gemini astrology, we say the planet which has the highest degree is the Atmakaraka. So if at all we take this as an entity, Astropur as an entity, we would say like, I'm not sure the time is right. What's it right, sir? Okay. So the Atmakaraka for this entity, anything, any action you do, anything you initiate, that becomes a life by itself. It need not have a soul, because whatever happens as the influence of planets, it's an energy. We don't speak of souls or not soul, a living being or non-living being. As a mantrik, as an expert in occults, you would always think about energies. Like, I'm going to give another test now. This chart is okay, fine. Jupiter is the Atmakaraka for this. How is it placed now, Jupiter? In which star? Jeshta. Ruled by? Mercury. What's the star ruling the day today? Mercury. Mercury is retrograde. So, in that way, because we have Jupiter as the Atmakaraka, it helps you to sidestep many of the issues that could happen for this process due to a retrograde Mercury. And for any person, as a human being, we have a purpose. It's very easy to select. The destination is the same for all of us. Yeah, we were born and one day we are going to die. That's the destination. But in between, the time we were born and the time when we have to get farewell from this plane of existence, we do so many things. All this is geared towards a purpose. The Atmakaraka is the planet which tells you about the purpose of why you are here, what you are supposed to do, because that's more important. That is going to decide where you are going to end up later in a future incarnation and all that. So here, Taurus is the ascendant. Jupiter is in which house from Taurus? 7th house. So the ascendant is being aspected with Jupiter. Okay. Now, if you look at the write-up that I had offered for this summit, I had written about how to dosha-proof your existence. Usually we say like, a time which is perfect is not possible even for the devas. A horoscope without any doshas is not possible even for divine beings. So all of us would have some doshas, some yogas. The idea should be to have less of doshas and more of yogas. That would help us to actualize, perfect the reason of my existence. So we have to align our moves, our actions, our perspectives in line with whatever Atmakaraka is. Because that is the channel through which the life purpose is going to ooze out. Your life purpose is going to play out. Your life script is going to play out. In a way, your evolutionary process is going to be better. So here, Jupiter is the Atmakaraka for this process. It's aspecting the ascendant. Now, with when Jupiter is the Atmakaraka, the thing would be about remedies. The topic here is about remedies. The theme of the summit is about remedies. Jupiter is something which makes impossibilities into possibility. If you have a retrograde Jupiter in your chart, regardless of where it is placed, how your chart is regarding anything else, it gives you indomitable willpower to rewrite your fate, to accept challenges. Just like as Napoleon said, nothing is impossible. That will be the motto of your life. Now when Jupiter is the Atmakaraka, your whole focus would be on remedies, would be on improving things. Jupiter is about expansion. So how to expand it? How to expand the scope of your research? If you find any great idea, any great discovery, any great intervention, any great invention begins with a spark. But that spark sometimes dies out. It doesn't have a full progress towards the right destiny of it. But there are times when you expand your spark, you expand the scope of it, you build up on it, you do more research on it, you make it practical, you make it workable, And then you have a grand scheme on this. As the other speakers were saying earlier today, what gave initiation to KP method at all? Initially, he was a traditional astrologer. Like most people do not know this particular fact that he was a traditional astrologer. He was someone who has learned the field. Like, it's very easy for a person who maybe is a rationalist and to just say like, this is a humbug. We don't believe that. Maybe physics makes sense, astronomy makes sense, but astrology is pseudoscience. It's easy to say it from outside. But here we have people who can say the blood group and the RH factor just by the chart. That means this is scientific. So if at all a person had been born here with this type, what would be the blood group? I'm sorry, I'm not testing this. Sorry?
It's A positive.
A positive. Okay. What would be the general characteristics of people who are A positive?
Positive thinking always there.
Positive thinking always. That is the keyword here. So this is a software which probably is going to be geared more towards the positive application of astrology. There are a lot of times we have wonderful interventions, wonderful inventions, wonderful discoveries, but which eventually degrade into wrong applications. Take for example dynamite, how it started and where it ended, and now we are in a never-ending vicious cycle of nuclear warfare, and where everyone is afraid of everybody else. And the old-fashioned, you wanted to say something? Okay. So the old-fashioned chivalry, courage, bravery, adventurism, all that are irrelevant. You just bomb somebody to hell and all your strength, all your training is of no relevance at all. So sometimes discoveries degrade. It would have been better for the world if certain discoveries had not been made at all. On the contrary, there are certain discoveries that change life forever. For example, blood transfusion. It helps to save a lot of lives. Without transfusion, a lot of precious lives would have been lost. A lot of tough interventions in medicine wouldn't have been possible at all. So what as a spec from somebody has developed into a whole science of hematology, and it helps the universe like this product. This is not the end of it. Though they say they have this is the final version of this, or that's what your idea was? Okay, I'm sure that's going to become, that's what's going to happen. Because this is something which is expanding. So when Jupiter is your Atmakaraka, it has to always expand, ever expand. And don't shun expansion. Don't reduce your potential. Don't say this is enough for me. So there is a life lesson each planet has to teach. One person's life lesson wouldn't be applicable to another person at all. For instance, supposing we have Sun as your Atmakaraka. Sun would always be about power, about ego, about authority. Now, this is the keyword. Psychologically, when you look at it, we say Sun is the Pitrukaraka. So basically, how do you learn authority? How do you learn your interaction with authority? How do you learn how to respect authority? How you relate with authority? Is the interaction you have with your father first. Because father is the first authority figure. Mother is not considered an authority figure. Because she is a part of you, and the child is most dependent on the mother initially, from the beginning. And they are more in physical touch with each other. Even if the mother is harsh, a child may not be afraid about the mother. The father has to just give a stare, and the child will feel a little delicate. So, the first lesson you learn about authority is through your father. The interactions with your father sets the theme about how you interact with all authority figures in the future. Your interaction with any teacher, with the governments, with any local authority, with any teacher, for instance, any person who is sitting in a position of authority. Their interactions with you would depend on how you are related with your father initially. So it's a big responsibility for anybody who is a father to teach the child about responsible ways of interaction with authority, not to fear authority, but to respect authority, to be responsible. The child has to learn from the example. So when Sun is the Atmakaraka, your life challenge would be about authority. You can say the theme is authority. How you interact with authority. When you are a subordinate, how you relate with people in authority positions. When you are in a responsible position, how you exercise your authority. Do you abuse them? Do you go beyond your targets? Do you go beyond your script? So, this is what Sun says. So for every planet, there is one positive side and one negative side. The positive side is the right use of authority. The challenge would be, are you exercising your authority rightly? When I say, are you exercising it rightly, I also mean, are you willing to use it? There are times when people call upon you and ask you to hold certain positions of authority and you shirk. By your shirking, what we don't understand is, it's always a personal choice. You are given a position. You can accept it, you can deny that. It's always your personal choice, but it doesn't end there. Universe is a big dominoes. One card sets the tone for every other card around. So when you have been given a chance by the universe to take a position, and you deny that, you are short-circuiting the whole process. Universe had a grand idea about this, but you have short-circuited it. So this is your challenge. When a position is given to you, are you willing to accept it? This is what I say, like responsible use of authority. Or there are other times when you are supposed to be a subordinate, but you decide to use your authority. You transgress your limits and you make it difficult for everybody around. Like take for example, somebody is in the war field. What happened some 2 weeks back? We had, you can have different perspectives of it from a what you call a political angle. But as a psychologist, when I look at it, as an astrologer, when I look at it, where we started and where we ended, it's a lot of significance, universal significance for all these events. One thing is, like the government of the day decided to give freedom to the army. Now, it was up to the armed forces chiefs to take the action. They could have very well said we were not prepared. They could have very well said it could have escalated a nuclear war or whatever. But then they planned it. If they had denied it, the outcome would have been very different today. So, when the position is given to you, when a responsibility is given to you, how you use that has its implication not only for you, but for everybody around you. And if you are abused that trust which is placed on you, no position comes to you just like that. If you are sitting somewhere in the world, it has come to you as the culmination of a long process of evolution, and the universe has blessed you with this position to make use of that for the benefit of everybody. When you say no to that, you are not saying no merely to your individual destiny. You are short-circuiting the destiny of a lot of people around you. So that becomes a karma to you. It's innocuous, innocence, and you may think like it's my choice, but no. In the matrix of life, nobody really has an individual choice. You are placed in a position and you are expected to play your role. So sun tells you, play the role of authority responsibly. Just on the back of it, if I have to think of one great personality, not many of you may be aware because he is a Tamil Nadu politician, that too of the past. One person named Mr. Kamaraj, who ruled Tamil Nadu for 10 years. A lot of people still speak about the good rule he gave. He was supposed to be one of the model chief ministers. He gave a lot of good schemes. But when I look at him objectively as a psychologist, I would say that he shirked from responsibility. Like, he was nearly on the line to become the Prime Minister of India. We still speak of him as a kingmaker. Because he was the one who proposed Srimati Indira Gandhi. He was the one who proposed Lal Bahadur Shastri ji on that. But these same leaders wanted him to be in that position, but he said no to it because what happened was he was a person of integrity. He was a person of good knowledge. But there was something lurking inside him which said that I'm not up to this position. What he didn't probably recognize was people wouldn't be accepting your leadership just like that out of the bat. So the chance was given to you. You said no. But now after 40 years, 50 years, still in Tamil Nadu when they fight election, they say we bring Kamaraj too. And forgetting that the same Kamaraj was defeated in an election by someone who was even a college goer. If he had accepted prime ministership, the whole script would have been different for the country, for the state, and for him personally. So the responsibility that when is given to you, we have to be accepting it. You have to accept as it comes. Life always has its own script. It keeps changing. Like Guru Garu was saying on that, Panchami and on Ekadashi you say a particular Kadgamala and it speaks about Vaksiddhi and all that. Very perfect. Because Panchami, can anybody say, apart from the Nitya Devatas, we of course have Nitya Devatas for each Tithi. Apart from that, can anybody say which deity is ruled by Panchami? Of course, except Guru Garu, obviously he would know that.
Is it Shodasi?
No.
Goddess Saraswati.
Goddess Saraswati, you can say, but not her.
Actually, that is Kama and Rati.
Yeah, that is fine, but that is in a particular month.
Yeah.
But generally,
Lalita Devi.
no, she is for Paurami and other things. Varahi, the Dandini, the commander-in-chief of Sri Vidya's armed forces. So, she also rules over Panchami. She also has the same Vaksiddhi. Like when a Tithi is there are so many Devatas which relate to that particular Tithi. All of them have almost similar characteristics, similar boon-giving potentials and all that. Varahi actually looks very ugra. She has a boar face, energetic, and there is a tradition where she is even offered non-veg. Usually Satviks don't offer non-veg. Varahi is one deity to whom you can offer non-veg also. In that way you can offer oblations to her. But regardless of all that, in spite of the ugratva of her upasana, she is a very kind deity. Raw energy that has to be harnessed, and Vakphalita. The ability to transpose things, to transpose planets, to transpose effects, to give effect to something which is not promised, to deny something which has been promised. That is the power of Varahi. So like that, there are different ways in which we keep interacting with the universe. Every moment we are in flux. Like whatever happened before this lecture would be much different for you all after this lecture, because you would have known something. Whatever I was before this lecture would be different from what I am after this lecture, because when I am giving a lecture, it's not merely I am giving you whatever I know. There is an intense process which is happening inside me. The churning is happening. The mind keeps asking its doubts. The mind keeps dissolving something, and then it is put forth. And the validation is here in all these spaces. Do we give A or do we say no? Are we with it? Or no, it's going home ahead. No. Why this trouble? No. At least we had a tea, and why don't we go for lunch and disperse this? Not troubling me, all that. So we can see the feedback is there. So based on that feedback, I get more energy. Whatever I am saying is not mere, like initially I was hesitant to give this lecture. I had accepted it initially, of course. But then, seeing a great person like this here, Uchishta Ganapati Upashaka, I never knew he was a Uchishta Ganapati Upashaka initially. We were waiting for him, like they said, like he was expected. I was trying to wait outside out of respect for the great person, whoever is coming to come. The first thought it came was, no, it's not GVK, it's GANAPATHY. Because Upashaka is not different from the Upashya Devata. That is the first rule of Tantra. A person who is in communion with the God, has done a lot of upasanas, becomes one with the chosen deity. It's the law of magnetism. Iron filings which are near magnet become magnet themselves, and they in effect can energize more iron filings to become magnets. That is the process of Diksha. That is how we all transform from mere beings of blood and flesh into livable, lively and energetic living beings, living souls who make a lot of changes to everything around us. So I was wondering, oh my God, this person is here, and I'm going to speak of Mantra Shastra. What is this? In the Saundarya we say, Pratipaj Balapir Divashakara Nirajan Vidihi, Sudha Sude, Chandropana Jalalave Rachana, Smakiye, Irambobiki Saliniti Saukitya Karanam, Tvati Yapir Bapista Vajanani Vacham Stutiriyam. To the sun I am showing Arti. To the moon I am offering Arghya. You gave me the word, and in front of you, I am using the same words to praise you. That's what Adi Shankara says about goddess. So like this, here I find so many experts. Some of you are incognito. You are not accepting that you are Upasakas, but I can see to it that there are some very powerful Upasakas sitting in this audience who for some reason are not here, for whatever reason, for whatever reasons you chose, or whatever reason the forum chose, or whatever reason the universe chose. So I was wondering, am I doing the right thing in giving a lecture on remedial astrology and mantra shastra for an audience like this? Regardless of how learned you are, when you are tested, you tend to get jittery, because you can say anything to my kid. She may tend to believe like, Papa, is it like that? Yeah, you see the poem divine forms are formed. Yeah, very good. Papa, I saw Avaraki, I saw Indrani. She may say that, but not you people. You are mature, scientific people and learned in the shastras. So I was wondering. God help me, I shouldn't blabber something here in front of this audience, because this is going to be recorded for posterity, and the camera is running, it's heartless. It keeps recording things for posterity, and then whatever I can say will come back to bite me. So, when I was here, that was a thought I initially had. Then I thought, but if this is my calling, I didn't choose to come here to address. Universe chose me to address that. If it was universe which chose me to address that, the universal energy will give me the intelligence, the wisdom to make my lecture in a way which will be useful to all of you. Maybe I would, just like a squirrel which has added a small stone into the bridge of Sri Rama, but of course that stone could have made the difference between the bits holding around or breaking down. So maybe I should accept that. That is a lesson for all of us. When life has placed us in a position, in a responsibility, how we react with it. It's very easy to lecture when we are sitting outside, when we are not in the spotlight, when we are away from the spotlight. Like that each planet has its own karmic sequence. Moon about nurturing. How you nurture people? Do you take responsibility for that? Or do you fail in that? Mars about fighting. Fighting in the sense, is it a dharma yuddha you are engaging yourself in? Or are you a mere bully who wants to tend to just pick fights for the heck of it? Mercury about analysis. Do you use your analysis for rightful purposes? In Tarka Shastra they always say, there was a great pontiff in Sringeri Math. He used to say he will ask scholars certain queries, very technical queries on cosmos, evolution, mantra shastra and other things. So the scholar would say something, the Acharya would say, don't you think this is right? He would put forth an argument. So the scholar would say, Acharya, when you say, it seems like this is right. Then he would again say back. He would give certain reasons and say, don't you think this is right now? Why did you accept that? I said it is wrong and you accepted it. You see, these are the justifications. The scholar would say, yes. Now when you say that this is apparent to me. Again he will do a flip-flop and say now look at this argument. Don't you think now this is okay? When a person is well versed in Tarka Shastra, he can convince you that you don't exist. He can sit in front of you and give you a lecture and say you don't exist, and you would say yes to it. So Tarka is so powerful. Logic. Of course, is there any student of logic here? I mean, who has studied logic in a psychological way or the Shastric way, means Tarka Shastra? Because they always tell a joke about logic. Maybe it will be a little vulgar, but when we are speaking about knowledge, I don't think anything is vulgar at all. So there was a student of logic, and the professor was saying where are you standing? Sir, I am standing in this room. Don't you think this room is being held by the ground? So you are standing on the earth only, not on this room? Okay, it makes sense. So this student said sir, I love your daughter. How? Because I love you and you love your daughter, so obviously I love your daughter. So, in Tarka Shastra you can make anything seem plausible. But now, when it comes to Shastras, that is why they have a full branch called Mimamsa. Means, you have to analyze it with respect. You can't have it without a proper frame of reference. You can't just have a wild card argument and say this is logical. It may be okay when you argue, but when you want to get at the truth, how you get at the truth? With properly calibrated logic, with properly put forth arguments along proper channels. That's what Tarka Shastra is. Now Mercury gives you that intelligence, that wit, that ready wit, where somebody asks you something and you just say something off the top of the mind and it makes sense to people. In fact, most astrologers have that ability. That is one reason why people are finding it difficult to accept astrology as a sign, because you just take a chart. Okay, even this chart I said no, the Jupiter is the Atmakaraka for this, and there is a scope for expansion in this, and these people shouldn't restrict themselves with whatever it has become. Because Jupiter means expansion. Don't shrink your expansion. Your responsibility is to expand the scope of it, to go beyond it, to break the barriers, to break the limits, go beyond the limits. That's what Jupiter is about. So it makes sense. Now, heavens forbid, I will forget this example, I will say something else. So for some same event, we have the same chart, and then after some years you say you gave this thing and you don't find it improving at all. So the astrologer might say on that day Mercury was retrograde. It was done on a Revati day, and Revati is Gandhara Nakshatra, and it was on a Saturday, and Rahu Kala was just over, and the Kora, then you can say Panchapakshi. You find some reason for it, and then give an excuse saying it was bound to fail. It makes sense to you. So if the same events, based on the outcomes, you are able to flip-flop and say this is right this time and this is wrong that time, or this is a different outcome at another time, how do you accept it as a science? This is a wrong use of your logical powers. But if you use it rightly, Mercury's logic would be impeccable, because Mercury is vidva. It's a vid. The vid is the root word we use when we often say about Buddha. Buddha is Buddha, one who is intelligent, one who has wisdom, one who has impeccable logic. So when you have Mercury as your Atmakaraka, Atmakaraka for information is the planet which has the greatest degrees in the sign which occupies. That's an interesting thing. In Parashara astrology, what's the avastha you would say if the planet is in the last degree of a sign? Sorry? Vriddha. Vriddha or Vriddha. So it's almost like a dead planet. And now in Jaimini astrology we put it as the strongest planet. You say that this is what is going to tell the pattern of your life. This is the purpose of your life. So how do you reconcile this? There must be some reason why they have stated here in a way different, because both are sages. Parashara is a sage and Jaimini is a sage. There must be a reason. One person is saying it's a Mritavastha, another person is saying like this is the Atmakaraka. One person says it's a useless planet, it cannot give you yogas. Another one says this is your life purpose. The reason is, if you have learned something, what's the point of your learning anything more? They have wonderful courses, like when Krishnamurti Garu said about all these courses, when he came to receive me early in the morning, I was so impressed. At last I have somebody who's working on it scientifically and in a calibrated way, which is acceptable to people who are outside this field also. Because when you are learned, how do you judge whether a person is learned? Usually when you let them speak, that is the visiting card. They blabber and he is good for nothing. He speaks well and he has too much within him. He hesitates, he is hiding something. So the way you speak, the way you communicate, the way you tend to pass your communication, your message, that tells how learned you are. In Shastras, especially in Nadi astrology, they don't accept a person is learned unless he can artfully articulate whatever he has learned. It should be the toughest concept. If you know it well, if it is in your system, when you explain that, that should immediately stick in the mind of the listener. If you can give that power, that means the subject is in your control. If the subject is in your control, then you know the subject, otherwise you don't know. So, if the second house lord is in the sixth house, people usually didn't accept a person as a vidva. You know it, but if you can't articulate on it, there is no point in saying that you are a vidvan at all. Your intelligence shows in your speech. Your knowledge shows in your speech. You may have that in your possession, but do you have command of the subject? That shows in your speech. When your mind is saturated with that knowledge, when your brain is saturated with the power of your wisdom, then the words flow like incessant Ganges in an unending stream. You needn't prepare, you needn't think, you needn't worry. So, when we have something which is perfect to us and we don't have a void in that, we don't tend to learn in that. Now, our life, sometimes we think of it as a punishment. For some mistakes we did, we probably took this incarnation and we have to go through our life. That is the karmic perspective of astrology certain people have. If you don't do a sin, why are you born as a human at all? There is a perspective like this. People say that. I don't say it's my perspective. I'm saying one of the different accepted perspectives about astrology. One is like, you have to pay for your punishment. You have to balance your karma, so you have taken a birth to balance that. Then there is another thing. Karma is not only negative, it's also positive. You have done some great punya, you have got a boon, it has to be activated. Without a body, the punya cannot be activated. You cannot feel that. So this body is a causal body, karma sharira, which is given to you to enjoy the boons that you have accumulated through a lot of penance. So that is one view of it. But usually when we look after it, if you have got too much of punya and you are nearing perfection, possibly you go to Swarga, after that you come back, then you come back. Still the vasanas are here with you. Whatever you learnt in many past incarnations are with you. That is one reason. Sometimes you find it's easy to master certain subjects even as you start learning them. It's as if the subject is calling you. It's not that you chose the subject, especially in a subject like astrology. To quote a personal example, I have been many things in life before I became an astrologer. Like I have been working in sales, I have been a military officer, I have been a medical transcriptionist, I have been a teacher, I have been a martial artist, all that. But whenever I did any of that, but in most of them. But even if I excel, there was something in my mind which said, no, this is not me. There is something in my mind which said, even when the success comes and everybody gives a claps around and some award is given to you, you feel like, no, this is not me. Something is lacking. Then when astrology chose me, mark it, I don't say I chose astrology, I say when astrology chose me to be full-fledged into this. I was always dabbling in astrology on the side, but when it chose me as my destiny, when it chose me for itself, then I realized a sort of satisfaction which no other field gave to me. Like that. For each one of you, there will be a purpose, there will be a calling, there will be an innate void which can be filled only with a particular activity. And usually your Atmakaraka sees it. Are you lacking in a role as a parent, as a mentor or a mother, as a fighter, as a rebel, as a Tarkic person, or as a person who has to expand the scope of things and take civilization to the next level? For instance, when your Atmakaraka is Venus, your purpose would be to understand the dynamics of being a spouse, the dynamics of how to use artistic ability, creative ability into something which is of use to the whole world. When it is Saturn, it is about pain. You shouldn't shirk pain. Pain chooses you, pain chases you, deprivation chases you. When you say like, this is my karma and you give up, it is then life starts punishing you because it is trying to teach you a lesson and you say no to it. No, it's like a tender father or mother trying to teach a child and the child is rebellious. The parent has to force the child. The child is unhappy and the parent is unhappy. The child cooperates. Of course, it's boring initially. Now the child excels and the child starts getting appreciations, getting feedback. The child is happy, the parent is happy. Like that. Saturn is a hard taskmaster. So you can't sidestep pain. Nobody wants to be in pain. That is one thing. But if pain is the lesson you need to learn in this life, by learning to embrace it voluntarily, then life decides the lesson is learned, so no more pain for you, and the pattern changes. So if somebody looks at you, at your chart, after you have learned your life lesson, they may not be able to see the real pattern of your life because it has changed. If you have got a mantra diksha in your life at a particular point, after that if somebody is trying to see your chart, they may not be able to know the inner nuances of your life because whatever was there initially, pre-written, had been changed, had been altered for you. What is CAT? CAT. Cat? ACT? TAC? You have the same elements A, C and T, but when you arrange it in different ways, the outcomes are entirely different. Karma only says what different elements you have brought in with you. Are you intelligent? Yes, maybe intelligent. For intelligence, you have got certain specs of your karma. For courage, you have certain specs of your karma. For kindness, you have certain specs of your karma. So, combined of all this, individually it is not you. You are not the same person in different circumstances. You are not the same person across the pattern of your life. What you were in your childhood, you are not now. What you are today, you may not be tomorrow. So it keeps evolving. But the elements are same. ACR, TT, ACR, whatever. Now, you can't alter it. Because in our limited powers as human beings, we can't rearrange or rearrange the order of things, the order of elements, the sequence of elements in our life. But divine mercy can do it for you. A person who must have been near cat could become an act. Someone who could achieve anything. It has happened in many cases. Upasanas change cat into a tiger. Upasanas change a mere human being into a Mahatma. Upasanas change a person who was a sinner into some author whose work is still read for Punyas, Valmiki Rishi. Now, we have to see how the rearrangement happens, how we facilitate that to happen. For that, we have different things. First, identify the Atmakaraka of your chart. Find the purpose of your chart. What's your real challenge? We have challenges in different things, but all that need not matter. You may have 1,000 queries, but one query could be the most important thing for you. Today, it doesn't matter I was a military officer at all for any of you. Because it's not going to help you. It doesn't matter to you that I was a physics graduate. It doesn't help you. It may matter to you that I was a psychologist because the pattern that I'm going to address today is based on psychology, psychological perspectives. The fact that I have got Diksha should matter to you because that's what I'm going to elucidate upon. So, for each time, regardless of whatever we are many things to many people, many things at many times. But what matters most to change our life, to alter our life, that's what is shown by the purpose of your life, your Atma Karaka. So choose that, identify what its challenges are, and look within yourself. Am I manifesting the challenges of my Atma Karaka, or am I manifesting the positive side of my Atma Karaka? If I am manifesting the positive side of my planet, fine, I have to just go maintain the rhythm. Because it's possible to lose the rhythm. When things go very tough, you won't make mistake. When do accidents happen most? When everything is going on well. When there is less traffic and you overspeed and suddenly someone crosses your path and you have a bang, you have a clash and maybe your life is lost. When the traffic is very severe and there is a snarl, even if you want to rush, you can't. So obviously you are safe. It's an accepted fact in traffic data that when there is a heavy traffic snarl, there are very less accidents. Only when the road is smooth, when the path seems to be clear, then the unexpected happens and it derails you. Like that, in life also. When you have too many worries, at least there is one thing less to worry. You can't sin, you can't stray, because life has restricted you. You have a limited scope to stray. But when life is making you smooth, life is giving you opportunities, life is giving you authority, then you have to fight. So identify your Atma Karaka and see, are you on the smooth path, on the smooth high path where you are just cruising around? You are just cruising without any effort. Then beware, because there is a possibility you may be derailed. So identify why this cruise is happening. Identify what are the ways that I will do to maintain this. If it is not cruising, but my chart says I must be cruising here, obviously I am doing something bad. Maybe instead of pressing the accelerator, I am pressing the brake and expecting the car to move forward. So we must know what we are doing. First identify yourself, your motives, your potential, your karmic possibilities, your karmic promises. Then try to align. That needs introspection. Your moon should be good for it. It's not nature. Is it exalted? When it is exalted, is it merely giving you acceleration? Or is it giving you enthusiasm? So analyze that objectively. Because we all want to see good things about us. That is why Linda Goodman's Sunshine is one of the most famous books. Because it tells something positive about every sunshine. You read for your sunshine, you would feel like, everything seems to be correct for me. Because it focuses on certain things which you like, which you relate to. I don't say it is totally false. But the way it is written, it tends to vibrate with what you want to believe. But that wouldn't help you. I don't say that book wouldn't help you. I'm saying that approach wouldn't help you as a person when you want to introspect. Analyze objectively where I really stand. Everybody says I am intelligent. No, I am not going to accept that. I know innerly where I lack. So that objective analysis must be there. Introspection must be there. And we must find the words, fill that, and then we can go forward in our life. So this is what we have to focus upon. Now what to avoid? I found Atma Karaka. Now I have found that is sun. I have to avoid misuse of authority. That will be the natural tendency towards egoistic approaches. Like I tend to believe whatever I say is true. Maybe initially it's right. This has been the nemesis of many great rulers of the world. Initially, almost every great leader starts well. But then you lose the script because ego starts entering into your psyche. And then you are not what you were. You are not what you were. You started well, but you didn't end properly. When it is moon, it is about emotions. Emotions are good. You tend to connect with people. You tend to understand people better at an intuitive level. But are you garnering too much of energies from people? Is it that you are too much of style and no substance at all? It's possible. Or maybe you are giving too much importance to your emotions at the cost of logic, at the cost of objectivity. So you are not able to do justice. Like take for instance, supposing somebody comes here today, opens the room and asks sudden, I need 1,000 rupees, my son is sick. I need to give something to him. What will you all do here?
Our process will definitely be.
To give possibly, yeah. It sounds good, but from a karmic perspective, it may not be the right answer for you to do at all times. Sometimes by helping a person, you may actually, put the person at a disadvantage. It's quite possible. When somebody is hitting somebody, and you decide to intervene, it seems correct because you are trying to help a helpless person, but who knows what the other person did before. That is why the chapter which was recited by my daughter is very relevant. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjana tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veda parantapa. You do not know where it started. It's a big cycle. The person who is seemingly the tormented person might have been the tormentor. Maybe they are balancing out the karma. Unless you are a spiritually advanced Mahatma, you may not know exactly whether your intervention is good for them or bad for them at all. So, if at all, you have Mars as your Atmakaraka and you are in a conflict circumstance, count till 10 before you intervene. Because when you give a time gap between the incident and your decision, you mostly tend to do what is right. When you go with your impulse, you are imbalanced or overbalance yourself and go into a stream or path which you are not supposed to have taken at all. When Mercury is the thing, that idea would be to make fun of everything, to argue everything. You tend to argue even exalted concepts which are supposed to be taken on merit, taken on face value. Like for instance, when we speak of karma, we presume that there was an initial birth or many different initial births before this, so that which has manifested in our current state. Now it's quite possible, you can say like that's what Charuvakas did. What I see is what is true. Only today is guaranteed. I didn't know the past. I don't know the future. Today I have with me. So let me enjoy. So when you say that, it makes sense. But then because you have questioned something which is first principle of universe, then what happens is you are not balanced. You tend to focus too much on the present. This present may not be important at all. If you are a player of chess, you would know there are many times when you would give heavy gambles. You would have lost many of your players and then you would emerge successful. There are certain games where it's purposely done like that. You gamble away all your advantage. It seems to be that the opponent is winning. At that particular point, if somebody is trying to assess the game, they would not give you any point at all. They would think that you are losing. But if you know your script, you would know that you are not losing. Like that in life, the present is not always important. Because the present is the culmination of whatever happened in the past and is the potential for the future, but it is not an end in itself. We must be aware of that possibility, where it is going to lead to, where it is going to project to, where we are standing. So when Mercury is your Atmakaraka planet, be very careful about how you use your objectivity, how you use your knowledge, how you use your rationalism. Lot of rationalists actually tend to have very strong Mercuries. People who say don't believe God, don't believe karma, don't believe black magic. Okay, what happens is you have a selective logical perception where you always focus only on what is relevant to you. You always gather things. Mercury is very good at collecting data. And there is the other extreme. You are a believer, like especially in astrological community or mantra shastra community, you tend to believe. Now, again, that belief bias would be there. What happens is you tend to believe only things, whatever happened, to your advantage. You only think of, he went to this Chilkur Balaji temple and he got visa. He also went, anecdotal evidence. And then you say like, you go to Chilkur Balaji, you definitely get visa. But your chart doesn't promise at all. Now you have put the God himself in quandary. Now, will he give you a boon, he has to rewrite it, or will he say no to you? And then risk being called he is powerless, he has lost his power. Till yesterday he was there, today he is not powerful for me. Or there are times when people choose a different perverted logic. There was an astrologer whom I know who was who was supposed to be a great expert in prediction. He used to always say like, if I look at marital prediction, the marriage fits. He is a very good predictor who was known to give very astounding predictions. But for some reason, he convinced himself that he gives a compatibility study, the marriage would fail. To an extent, his belief became the fact. It was not that he was unlucky, it was not that he was not equipped to give things like that. He was a well-educated person, a good psychologist and all that. So ideally, he must have been a very good counselor, very good relationship counselor. But somehow, this is called heuristics in psychology because the mind tends to believe what is easier to believe. The mind tends to believe which is comfortable for it to believe. The mind tends to believe which doesn't challenge its psychological consistency. So when Mercury is your Atmakaraka, that person incidentally had a very powerful Mercury. He was a very good speaker, very good mathematician. Like, you know what? Computers are a newer thing. Imagine Professor KSK when he propounded this theory. How many calculations he must have made out of hand. And you know, he propounded a whole Ainamsa. Now, Ainamsa is a very vexatious question. Which Ainamsa is correct is still being debated among the scholars. None of us still agree what is right, what is wrong. Okay, now which Ainamsa we should use here? Like when you follow KP.
KP new.
KP new? Why not Chitrapaksha? Because Chitrapaksha is what Indian Astronomical Society accepts.
The founder himself suggested to follow his own.
That is the right answer because he bases research based on KP Ainamsa. So when you are using this principle, better use this. It's always right. As an astrologer, we must always remember one thing. It is possible for you to arrive at the right answer with wrong set of data, provided the error is carried out continuously, consistently across the different situations, because the error tends to correct itself. Like even Sayana Nirayana method of making a chart, Ainamsa varies, but the individual difference between the planet. Do I have to?
This my call from
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought, you know, I'm being called for time. Anyway, so what happens is, in Sayana charts are Nirayana charts. When you use that consistently, the difference between the planetary degrees is going to be the same. So is it a sextile, is it a quad, is it a quintile, is it a sesquiquadrate, is it a quincunx? I presume that you all know that, or if not, you should know because KP has even spoken about all this.
Western aspects are there.
Yeah. So, these things don't change regardless of the items you use. These things don't change. But instead, if you choose to choose one part of the chart for Sayana and one for Nirayana, and then you try to compare, then you get wrong. So if your logic is perfect, without any doubts, and your mind is clear, without preconceived notions, then even with the wrong set of data, it is possible for you to derive at the right answer. So that is one challenge of Mercury. What happens is that bias. You got right answers, so you tend to believe what you say is true. There is wide acceptance for whatever you say. You tend to believe it is true. When Mercury is conjunct Rahu, especially in the chart, or Rahu strongly initiates your sublord or your fifth sublord or your ninth sublord, it is possible for you to weave a magical illusion and a whole concept which stands on nothing. It's like Maya's wonderful palace for Pandavas which he built. What you see is not what you get. So like that you can weave great pedestals over nothing. And ultimately it will not stand the test of time. For few instances it may seem to work right. Universe always has a way, you know, we say something about beginner's luck. Beginner gamblers, like, you know, the person who starts out always wins usually. Because he is fresh into it. Universe wants to catch him. Universe wants to trap him. So it lets him win. It's a gambit that the universe plays on you. It's the magic which the universe plays on you, so that you don't master the subject. Almost all divine subjects have this sort of a curse on them. Like, you know, why do you need a diksha at all? Mantra is a string of words, and when you articulate it, it produces certain changes in the atmosphere, and the outcomes manifest. Then why do you need a guru? Why do you need a diksha? Why do you need upasana? May not be needed, but why it is needed is guru, grace of the guru, grace of the lineage, filters out the illusionary aspects of the sadhana. Like for instance, when you do matangi sadhanas, there is a golden rule that you should never criticize anybody when you are trying to get a siddhi of it. Even if something is wrong, try to find a good thing in it. Somebody has done something which is patently absurd, try to find something positive even in that. Somebody is saying some meaningless morpheme. Morpheme means, like, you know, some children speak, la la lili or something like that. Try to find a meaning out of that also. Some random gestures, try to find a meaning out of it. Try to find something useful even in the most useless of things. If you manage that consistently till your sadhana is complete, till the God declares, the deity declares that you have got siddhi of it, then you get siddhi of it. So this is one thing. Now, how do you know that you are not cheating yourself also? when you are doing this process, because you are accustomed to saying everything positive. Actually, even in astrology it happens. There are some astrologers who predict only the good things. You get even Pattam, Nalvakanayakan, Vaksiddhi, whatever you say. People who are known for their luck. You say like you go to him, he says only good thing. How it is possible? I go to your doctor, he says I am fit, I am happy. But that's not why I go to the doctor at all. The doctor must prognose. I go to a teacher, he says I am intelligent. I am not going to the teacher just for that. He must teach me where I am weak. He is not supposed to focus only on my strong points. Like that. The purpose of a guru is to know, is to tell you where you lack. The purpose of the guru is to chastise you where others may praise you. The purpose of the guru is to put a brake where you are going only an accelerator and down there is a pit and you do not know. You are fast and you think you are progressing well. Unless the guru stops you, you may have a gory end. What started in a flash would end in a crash. So here, the Atmakaraka is guru. Learn how to respect your guru, how to interact with your guru, and more importantly, how to choose your guru. Unfortunately, in these times, what we lack is the discretion in identifying a good guru. A lot of times, we either tend to overestimate a guru or underestimate a guru. We believe those who must not be believed, and we tend to suspect who must not be suspected, and we follow who must not be followed. We tend to follow concepts which seem correct to us. Like for instance, I see people saying casually in YouTube about advanced sadhanas. Many of you might have seen that. So they would say like, you chant this mantra, only one mantra for all your troubles. Yeah, one size fits all. Then you go and they say like, you see the video, the person is reading from the script. The first thing is, if I am not a magnet, how am I going to magnetize you? If I have not got the siddhi of the subject, how am I going to pass it on to you? My light is not burning. How am I going to light another lamp out of it? But people don't realize that. It looks very impressive. Just one thing for all your troubles, secret which nobody else said, I am going to relieve it for the first time. For how many first times? How many videos claim this is the first time? This is the exclusive video. All that. So we tend to follow things which we shouldn't follow and suspect things which we shouldn't suspect. Like somebody says like during this sadhana you are not supposed to do. No, only mind, cleanliness of the mind is enough for me. The achara is all only for people who are not having good pakpa. But look at it, people of the standard of Sadashiva Brahmendra, great Avadhutas, His Holiness Chandrasekhar Saraswati, many GS, many Madhva saints, they all follow the protocols. Do we mean to say they don't have mental purity and that is why they are following all the acharas? We tend to look at things which are easy for us. Somebody says like, yeah, you can eat non-veg, not a problem. It's the mind which matters. It's not what you put inside which matters, it's what your mind thinks which matters most for you. Yeah, fine. It's not what I speak matters, but what I think matters most. True, what I think matters most. But how will you get benefited if I think right but I speak wrongly? How is it possible at all? I put something wrong in my body and there will be the right reaction for me in my life. How is it possible at all? Like I have a whole, wonderful dish in front of me with all the delicacies, and at the corner of it, I have something which is unpalatable, which is repulsive. Can you say that this balances out? Obviously not. So, cleanliness, internally, externally, and in everything we do, matters a lot. This is about the Guru principle. Now, when we come to psychosomatic principles of remedies, there are different ways. Homam does it in a way, it burns out your karma, it actually directly relates with the different chakras of your body, the products which are put into it, the way the homam is invoked, the mantras which are chanted, all that form a symphony and they form a sort of resonance, and in that resonant field when you are there, certain thing changes about your aura. When something changes in your aura, changes happen in your physical body and the pattern of karma in your life. This is one way of looking at it. Now, when we look at it the other way, what is psychosomatic? Psycho is the mind, of course we know. Somato is body or mind or your face or whatever. The biological, actual manifest reaction that we show to things. In psychosomatic things, like supposing you have Jupiter which is not well placed in your chart, what happens usually? I'm not going into the sublord or the details at all. I'm going to just give the ingredients. These people will help you to cook it. I'm just a merchant who is just peddling his wares here, let them collect all this, and then just like how they use the fifth subdot, and I've got a wonderful theory, whole edifies on it. I want them to cook it, but now I'm just putting the ingredient here. Now if Jupiter is not well placed in your chart or is afflicted, what generally happens? Irreligious.
Lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge.
Children problem.
Sorry?
Children problem.
Children problem.
Lack of,
Yeah, it makes sense.
lack of expansion.
Lack of expansion, very good.
Doubting.
Doubting, yeah, always doubting. Because when we don't have belief, we can't move forward at all. We have to believe on something. Otherwise, we can't start everything. At least there should be a modicum of belief. Yeah. So doubting is a very valid point when Jupiter is not well placed in the chart or is afflicted in the chart. So what's the remedy? So when we speak of planetary remedies, we always speak about synchronicities. What the planetary element is there, if we act on that, definitely is going to help you. Whatever is lacking, you can fill it with the element of that planet. So how do you give a remedy for Jupiter? A simple remedy without doing
The
anything?
deity for the Jupiter.
As it donate pumpkin to somebody else.
Okay. Donate pumpkin to somebody, okay.
Otherwise, just turmeric seed is there. The garnet of turmeric seed is there. So let him put to somebody else.
Good, correct.
The grains of the Jupiter to be offered to a cow.
Yeah.
True.
Respect to your teachers, gurus.
Respect knowledgeable people. Respect knowledgeable people and gurus. That's a very wonderful remedy which covers everything else. Because when you offer a pumpkin, what happens if there is a worm inside the pumpkin? In remedies, the failure comes not because of not always because of imperfections on the part of the person, but because when you are trying to fill something in your life which has a void, it will be like the universe will conspire to send you things that have defect in such a way the remedy becomes invalid. Right? Just imagine when you look at great scriptures like Ramayana, the sages were trying to do a heaven. Today sitting here in modern world we say like, you do a Pratyingira, none of your enemies can stand in front of you. You do a Baglamukhi, you can tie down any enemy's face, nobody can say something wrong about you. You say Uchishta Ganapati and your intuition will be so powerful. You say Varahi Katravanoda Vadadade. That's what they say in Tamil. Because if you have got a Siddhi of Varahi, don't argue with him. You will be finished. We say all this, but do you think that the great sages wouldn't have known all this? But in spite of that, when they sat for the Homam, why did they have to go to Sri Ramchandra Murthy and ask for his protection for the Homam? When we do any Homam, anybody who does Homam here, I think there are some Smarta Pandits also here. I think you're doing it, yeah. So, when we do that, we obviously do this, Adidena Manyaswa, Madena Manyaswa, you get the permission for it, you secure the borders of the place, especially people who have got Tantric Siddhis and do Tantric Upasanas, the first thing they do is secure the place. The Yellakattu we say in Tamil, I don't know what you call it in Telugu, sorry. But this is the idea. Basically, you secure the place.
That's a Digbandhana.
Digbandhana, okay. Same thing which we use in Sanskrit. So, the Digbandhana is done, and we believe the force of Digbandhana is so strong that anything which disrupts that performance cannot enter. It's not illusion, it happens. Does anybody know here what a psychopomp is? Psychopomp. Psychopomp. P-O-M-P. Psycho, P-O-M-P. Psychopomp is a person who helps the dead souls to pass over peacefully. Like certain souls are struck in this plane after their death. Because they are stuck here and they are unhappy, they tend to alter the atmosphere here and tend to do troubles to people. It may sometimes manifest as actual possession. Of course, what I am saying is in a very slippery ground. I don't know whether it is legal to say all this, but as a person of knowledge, I would say everything what I know, regardless of whether it is considered legal, illegal, or on the grey line. So, because in certain states like Maharashtra, you have
Actually, 2 books are written on them by authorities.
oh, in psychopomps. Yeah.
Right, people, 2 books are there.
Yeah.
I'll tell them.
Yeah. So there are things like this where we believe that the soul which is here, which is not happy and which is stuck in this plane, tends to influence the atmosphere around and tends to give a lot of troubles. The troubles can be many things. One is the actual position. The other thing is what we don't recognize as a soul problem, but which is a soul problem. Like an ailment which shows different symptoms at different times. And so the doctor is stumped. Like a typical case is the Prashna where they said like the doctor diagnosed the possibility of cancer and the astrologer says it is not. Because astrologically you say it's not a cancer because there is no karmic evidence for the person to have cancer. Incidentally, why do you think GVK sir was the chief guest today? There are very practical reasons. Of course, he deserves to be the president of any gathering. That is one thing. But if you look at the journal here, I'm sure he must have contributed some article about cancer. Today is Saturn. Saturn rules cancer, and the examples you are giving is also about cancer when you try to establish the efficacy of this field and all that. Now, cancer is one karmic ailment, and Saturn is about accidents, crippling accidents. You have one typical example of a person who escaped Saturn, where he had a rebirth, 16 surgeries, and still active. So Saturn causes all that, and how you break that, how you break the jinx of that planet and go beyond that. Now, souls can also cause that. There are places where you find accidents happen constantly at the same place. Why only at that spot? Why not 100 meters before? Why not 100 meters later? It is that the souls which are restless, they tend to impel more souls into that. It is like almost like a zombie. I am not happy. I don't want to see others happy. I see a happy family going in a car at midnight and they are happily chatting. I am chatting something and very sure of the future. No, this is something which I didn't enjoy. So the soul tends to impel you to act in certain ways. You lose your presence of mind. You ask most people who have had some serious accident, they are very good drivers. When they survive, if you ask them, they will say like, I didn't know what happened. For some reason I blacked out that time. I didn't know what to do. For some reason I felt like I must move like this. It was what you call something which you can't prevent. It just happens at the gut level. Only when you think of it later, when you give a psychotherapy or you make the person regress to that place, they will be able to remember that. Otherwise, they don't even remember anything which is unusual. So souls do all that. Souls can sometimes give you ailments which are not traceable to actual physical reasons. So this is it. Now a psychopath is a person who helps in making these souls pass over to the other plane so that they are not a trouble to all of us who are living here. So this is the subject. Now, the query is, we say a person dies only when it is fated, especially as KP astrologers who believe that everything can be predicted with accuracy. You must know that a person cannot die if it is not fated for him. Now, who are these souls? He is not fated and he died, is it so? Or if it was fated and he died, what right he has to be in this plane? Now, what does the role that psychopomp really plays? Are they cheating themselves, or are they cheating the society, or are they under illusion? What could be the answer? I think I said something very powerful.
Yeah, I think we can take it in the panel, because these are the things which we have different reactions.
Yeah, okay. We'll take it in the panel. So here when these things happen, it is due to Saturn, suffering. We'll just if we have to put one keyword to all that, I would say this is suffering. Suffering is the keyword for it. Now, if you are someone who is very balanced and who can accept things as it comes, Saturn cannot trouble you. Saturn did not trouble Hanuman for this reason because he was engaged in a divine activity. Saturn couldn't trouble Lord Ganesha because he was above all obstacles. Like that, if you can take refuge on a what you call an archetype, I wouldn't say deity, I would say archetype here, because I am seeing it from a psychological perspective. As a religious person, yes, I would say it's a deity. But again, in the panel I have another thing to ask. Is a deity illusion or a reality? Will you please note it so that we will discuss that later. Because the experience of sadhakas tell you that the deity is a reality. But if God is one, why these different forms? There must be some reason for it. So we will discuss that in the panel discussion. Now, the psychosomatic thing. Very wonderfully, many of you said like respecting a guru. That is the best remedy for Jupiter. Because in every other remedy you try to do, universe can try to check you. You offer a turmeric, maybe there is a worm in the turmeric. Or maybe you offer to somebody who was not supposed to be given a turmeric. So the whole remedy becomes pointless. You wanted to say something, sir? No. Okay. Even pumpkin. Or you offer something and in the home something which is impure false. That is why in the homums which the ancient sages did, they wanted Sri Ramachandra Murthy to be the what you call God for it, so that the homum cannot be neutralized, cannot be nullified, cannot be negated. Homums or most Vedic austerities depend on the perfection of everything that is used. The mindset which the person asks, he may say like, I have done so many things, This idiot is asking me 10,000. Let me get it over. And the people shouldn't say like, I didn't do that, that is why I'm suffering. So with this mind, you give the money is tainted. So the money what the priest got, the first thing was the investment is wrong. Now the priest, he thinks like, he knows something inside him doesn't add well. He feels like, what do these people know? I have to fast on the day before the homam. Now my wife may not cooperate about doing this prasadam and all. She has to get up early in the morning. My children are there and they have to go to school. We have all the troubles. Without understanding, he gives 10,000. 3 people would come and sit in my place, and they also put 1,000 blames on the performance I do. So the priest mind is tainted now with anger and that frustration. So both things, the two basic kartas have gone wrong. Now the product. The person thinks like, what is the guarantee if I pay high, the amount is going to be good, so he starts bargaining. Sir, can we have 8,000 for this? The priest makes a calculation. If I have proper sandalwood from Mysore, this is the cost of it. Maybe I can get some sandal powder somewhere where they mix different things, and then I put it to the Purnahuti. That will be fine. Nobody is going to understand it. So 8,000, yes. So the client is now happy. No, I shouldn't have said 8,000. Maybe I should have said 7,000. So even this 8,000 he is giving with a reservation, and the priest has to obviously compromise. Both things over, and the product is compromised now. And then the priest has his assistants. Now to the assistant he would say like, don't think this is a grand homam. He has given only 8,000. We have to adjust with that. Right? Remember, be careful with the ghee you use. What the acharya means is, maybe put it a little less so that it doesn't matter much. But the assistant takes it the other way. When he goes to purchase, he would feel like this is proper cow's ghee and this is a different brand, maybe slightly adulterated. Fine. So there are when you go to homam purchase shops, I was shocked to find when I did it many years back. They would say, when we ask for ghee, they don't ask, do you want a good quality ghee? They would ask like, do you want it for eating or for home? My God, even if I eat a wrong ghee, maybe I'll be able to digest it. But if I put a wrong ghee in the homam, the whole thing becomes negative. They don't understand. They have a whole ghee for homam which is adulterated, and people buy it happily. And so everybody is happy in this process, in a way. There is a compromise at every stage of it. But ultimately what happens is, you could have spent 10,000 or you not spent it at all. Now with your spending of 8,000 or whatever, I am just giving it for an example, whatever you have spent, you have invoked your karmas here. You have invoked the God, and the God is, the deities are looking at you for quality things and honor, and you have dishonored them with your attitudes, with the wrong things of things that you put into that, and the wrong attitudes which have gone. The whole vibration is negative. It's a vicious cycle where you suspect him, he suspects you, and nobody trusts anybody, and the deities don't want to come here. They would say like, no, whatever you do with it. This is not Agni anymore, it just becomes fire now. What would have been a holy Agni, where the deities would have come and the fire would have been a divine messenger to convey your blessings, your prayers to the powers of the universe, and could have attracted all the positivities of the universe to you, has now become a mere fire, as good as a fire of a firewood, as good as a fire in an accident. So you have nulled the whole thing. But now instead of all that, you just surrender to your Father. You treat your father with affection, regardless of how he is. In all this, we must remember one thing. There is always the argument like Matru Deva Bhava, Pitru Deva Bhava, Acharya Deva Bhava. All this looks good when you have a good father, good mother, good teacher, good mentor. But what do you do about a case where the father is abusive? So, is the child supposed to respect the father and satisfy the son? Or is he supposed to be straightforward like Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita? Don't think that the person in front of you is your mentor. Don't think Dronacharya is your mentor now. Don't think Bhishma is your grandfather now. Take your bow, fire your arrows at him. So maybe I should fire at my father, maybe I should fire at my mother, maybe I should fire at my Acharya. Not that. In the dynamic of universe, we have a protocol and you have a protocol. Your father is a father, regardless if he is good, bad, better. Your mother is a mother, regardless of whether she is good, bad, better. Your guru is a guru. Choose them carefully. When you choose, take your time to choose. Take your time to, of course you can't test a guru obviously, because most gurus would get angry when you are tested. And there are a lot of instances when you, especially when your Jupiter is weak and you go to test a guru, you do something which will be his triggering point. The guru is also a human being ultimately. For every person, there is a joke which is always said. There was a person who was so sattvic, he would never get angry. So another person wanted to test his patience. So because this person is always saying, if you are patient, nothing will strike you. It is true. Because in most instances, fate impels you to do something out of anger, out of greed, out of impulse, and then you pay for it. So this person is so sattvic. People are saying he's so sattvic and he's recommending that to everybody. He wanted to test it. He wanted to take him as a guru, and so he goes to the guru and say like, Guruji, would you never get angry? No, I will never get angry. Do you really mean that? Yes, I really mean that. Even if I slap you, you won't get angry? No, I won't get angry. Even if you remove your dhoti, I won't get angry. It went on. The 25th query, the person said like, you idiot, you don't deserve to live a proper life at all. Die. Now it's simple to even curse you. To that extent it can go. So it's very risky to test people who are higher than you in your protocol for Dharma Shastras. So where you can test them is, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. If you have a good quality sandalwood, you need not know rub it and find its fragrance. It is there for you to see. Universe can tell you 1,000 clues to find the quality of whatever you have in your mind. So the quality of a good guru can be seen through the actions, through the way they conduct themselves, the aura they carry about themselves, the clarity you get in their presence. If you have a good guru in your life, Gurustu Maunam Yakyanam Sishyena Chinna Samshaya, like Lord Dakshinamurti, you sit in front of him, the clarity comes, just oozes out of you. If that comes, then you have found your Sadguru. That is the way to test. You can't test them literally. The Mimamsa prohibits you from testing something violently. It is so noble. You can't test a flower by crushing it. You just look at its fragrance gently. That's what a guru, that's what a mother, that's what a father is. Observe them carefully. And then you find they are perfect. Surrender to the material. If you find they are not perfect, you solidify yourself, because this dynamic is very tough now. If the superior person initiates the dynamic, it's always easy for you to have a very healthy dynamic. So the son is not okay, father is good. It's always possible for the father to forgive the wayward child. So there is no consequence for the son. The son has done something wrong, but the karmic consequence is not there because the father has forgiven. So a good father can nullify your karma, good mother can nullify your karma. But in the other way, you are not in the position of authority and you are in their control and they decide to abuse you. Universe is so kind. It doesn't say that the dynamic is spoiled forever. It just says, in your role as a son, were you perfect? Fine. That's what you are marked for. You are given a wrong answer paper. So what will you do? You can only answer the question you have got. So the question was wrong, your answer is not wrong. So write the right answer. Let the answer be in such a way that it conveys something positive about you. Unconditionally, that's what Sri Rama told us. Why should we read epics? Why should we read scriptures? Why should we read Puranas? They give you living examples of how to be positive in the face of negativity. A father who says like, Rama didn't ask to be crowned. Now Dasharatha says like, you will be crowned tomorrow. He has started the Diksha. Then what happens is, the very next day things change. And now he wants to get the message, like go to the forest. He is not able to bring himself to say that. So he asks Kaikeyi to go and say, she goes and says, she says like, your father is asking you to go to the forest. See, his response is so classic. He says like, it need not be my father that asked me to go to the forest. It may be even you, mother. Even if you say, I'll go to the forest happily. So he is a good son now. By being a good person in your role, you are redeeming not only yourself, you are redeeming even the other person who has failed in his dynamic. A good son redeems his father who is not perfect. A good son redeems the mother who may not be perfect. A good disciple redeems the guru who may have strayed in his earlier life. Because Rishi Mula, Nadi Mula, we do not know. We would always say like, every saint maybe has a past and every sinner has a future. So if at all the guru had certain difficulties or certain issues in his life earlier, by mentoring a good disciple, he also gets a karmic thing. Karma is not linear. It is cyclic and it is a spiral. It touches. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's the rhythm.
Okay. I'll just end this with saying this. When I said psychosomatic ways of remedies, try to do things in your day-to-day life which will touch upon your karma positively. If you are blessed to be living with your father, whenever you go out for any work or you are traveling, have the courtesy to salute the father and take the blessing. Have the courtesy to salute the mother. When they are because after they are dead, you can only salute the photograph. You do not know whether the life is there or not. So when they are alive, use them regardless of what they are. If at all you think somebody as a guru, think of them every day early in the morning, the first thing. Think of their holy feet. Even if the guru is not perfect, universe ensures that you get the positive benefit of having saluted a guru. Salutation is one way, one psychosomatic way of doing a remedy. Going to pilgrimages is one psychosomatic way of going to the remedies. When you are troubled by life, have a smiling face, and then universe feels bad, it has to trouble such a person who is so positive. So this is one psychosomatic way of changing positive things. When people abuse you, His Holiness Chandrasekhar Saraswati always used to say, don't think about the abuses they heaped on you. Think about what all you did, what all they don't know. He is abusing me for no mistake of my side. If he knew whatever I did, how much he must have abused me. If you think of that, you will not feel bad about the abuse they gave. And you will be happy. When you are happy, the universe has to bless you for that positivity in the face of negativity. Maybe we will continue after the break. I think I have held you too long.